Merry Christmas, everybody, and welcome to the last and final day of my Christmas movie discussions. And today we're going to talk about Home Alone 1 and 2. So, basically what Home Alone is about a... By the way, we're not going to talk about the other movies either because I just don't like it as much as I do 1 and 2. Anyway, on to the matter at hand. So what Home Alone is about a kid who's left home alone. I know, kind of silly. But anyway, the first one anyway. The movie is pretty funny. It's hilarious. Anyway, his family's going on vacation, and this is a trend of both movies. They always somehow miss their alarm by having to accidentally unplugged the alarm clock. And in the first movie, Kevin is left behind. That's his name, by the way, Kevin McAllister. But there is one thing about this movie, and that is the fact that not only is Kevin left home alone, but there's a mysterious blue van watching his home while he's there before they leave for vacation. So these are the Wet Bandits, which will be named later on the Sticky Bandits. Anyway, the Wet Bandits are basically bandits. I can't see. And they go on stealing precious jewels. Harry and Marv. And Marv is basically the dummy of the two, while Harry is the brains of the outfit. So they go in the house to steal jewels, and by the way, there's a movie in the movie, and it's called Angels with Dirty Souls. Kevin is not supposed to watch that movie because it's not a kid-friendly movie, for reasons. And he, starts hollering down the hall, "Hey, I'm watching the movie. Hey, I'm doing this." He's just breaking every rule in the house. But anyway, he notices that the Wet Bandits are in there. So he starts setting up traps. He sets up light bulbs on the floor. He sets up... I don't remember who's his neighbor, but... Anyway, this is basically... I don't remember a whole lot about this movie, but... he sets up a bunch of traps. And... for Marv and Harry. They get messed up pretty badly. I mean, really badly. They get hand burnt. Marv gets his hand burnt. He gets his hair burnt off. He loses a tooth. They fall down the stairs. Both him and Marv. Both him and Harry. And then they just get messed up. And they think they've won by the end of the movie, but then Kevin is up to hand and they're arrested. And they plan to seek revenge and come back. We're supposed to come back as the Sticky Bandits. In Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, they are going to Hawaii. And the reason why it's called Lost in New York is because Kevin inadvertently gets on the wrong flight. Because he missed, he went with the wrong guy. How in the world that happens, I don't know. But, anyway, by the way, Buzz is a jerk in both movies. But so is Kevin. These are the reason why Kevin, makes a wish that he had his own vacation or he was left home alone. So, Kevin decides, they go to this concert where him and Buzz are in the choir. And Buzz, I'm not kidding, messes with him. This is why I said he was a jerk. And Kevin punches him. Now, I agree with the mom. That was not the right thing to do. And then he goes over and apologizes. He apologizes in front of everybody for his actions. Buzz does anyway. And Kevin doesn't. He's like, I'm glad I punched him. So he goes on this whole spiel that I wish I was on my own vacation. And mom says, well, you got your wish last year. You may got your wish this year. And so this alarm again. And thankfully, Kevin isn't left behind. So, they go to the airport. And Kevin has this voice recorder that contains his voice. Yeah, slower, higher, it's slower, faster, you name it. And he wants batteries. But when he gets batteries, he loses track of his dad, but he thinks he's found him and gets on the wrong flight. And of course, he flies all the way to New York. Well, his family ends up in Hawaii. And his mom realizes that he is not there. By the way, she does this one thing in both movies. She goes, Kevin! Anyway, he finds out he's in New York. And he's like, I'm in New York? Wait, oh no. I'm in New York. And my family is in Hawaii. My family? And then he realizes he got his wish. He goes, hey, I'm in New York? And so he, books a hotel and with his voice recorder, which in a little bit and later on gets him in trouble. By the way, both movies have a video game adaptation. Don't play them. They're both terrible. But anyway, he books a hotel, and then he uses his credit card that his dad had. By the way, he saw his bag. Anyway, he books a hotel. He goes in and then he tells her, "Look, the lady at the desk. Look, I'm a 10-year-old kid. You think I can be left at home? My dad's in a meeting." So he buys it. The manager of the hotel doesn't buy it. But anyway, he goes to a toy store and he buys, I don't know what he buys, but he buys stuff, and then he gives the owner, I don't remember the owner's name for the life of me. I can't remember these guys' names. But anyway, he buys stuff, but then he finds out that they're giving money to Toys for Tots. Yes. That's not even... Anyway, the guy gives him 2 turtle doves, and they have a meeting. You give one to you keep one for yourself, and you give one to a friend. By the way, there is a bird lady, and Kevin just scared death of her at first. Anyway, while he's out there doing all the stuff, they find out that when the dad finds out that he has his credit card, and I guess he puts out that his card is with his son, which they think is stolen. Which isn't really what happened. But then, so he goes back to the hotel, but of course he runs into Harry and Marv, who had planned to steal the money for the toys. And now the Sticky Bandits. And then of course he tells them, and then of course, he goes over to the hotel and tells everybody about it, and they get into a misunderstanding. Oh, and by the way, he went to the bird lady, and she doesn't seem too bad. So he goes to the hotel, and he warns the hotel manager, who is convinced he stole the credit card. Anyway, he goes back out and hides in the house and decides, looking at in the hospital, that he's going to stop the Sticky Bandits again. And of course, excuse me, he sets up traps in this abandoned house his uncle and aunt live in. His mom and dad go, to New York to go looking for him. His family go into too, and they find out that the manager let Kevin do all the stuff. Anyway, while this is happening, Kevin sets up these elaborate traps, and then he goes to the toy store at night because these Stick Bandits are there stealing all the money. He smashes a window, and then they go after him, and then he's on top of the roof of the abandoned house. So this is one of my favorite parts of the movie. He's up there, and he starts throwing bricks at them. And Harry goes, "Go ahead, throw another brick." And he's just like, "Marv, no." He throws him, and he gets hit the Marv in the head, and I think that if they were real, which they aren't, by the way, Marv would have a concussion. No, Harry and Marv would be dead by this first movie. Anyway, they go in, Kevin sets up elaborate traps, and the Sticky Bandits think they've got it licked because they know the tricks he did last time. They know about paint cans, but they forgot about they didn't realize he had a big bar that comes down on them. Harry thinks, he sticks his hand on the doorknob, and he gets hit in the head with a bunch of tools. This is before they went inside. Marv gets stuck by staples. And then when they get inside, hell breaks loose. And he's so funny. Marv gets his hat burned, then he puts his head in the toilet, which is full of kerosene. Also, Kevin lights up dips the rope in kerosene, and then lights up "Merry Christmas." Puts up. By the way, there's a scene in the hotel where he plays Angel with Filthy Souls at the point where the guy's talking about, "You were there, and you were smooching with my butter." And this is a hotel. I know, right? Anyway, back to Harry and Marvin. I forgot about that part. Anyway, they go inside, and Harry's on one side, Marvin's on the other. He goes, "Harry!" Marv goes, "Harry, I reached the top!" And he falls down into the basement. Because, they went a vague. Anyway, elaborate traps get set off. But, again, just like in the first movie, after all the elaborate traps are set off, they finally catch him and threaten to hurt him just as badly as he did in the first movie. But then he gets introduced. He finds his friend, who throws seed on them, and the pigeons start pecking. Anyway, he puts up this fireworks show, and they get caught again. And then they told the guy that runs the store is actually the guy that's helping out. So he gives his friend the 2 turtle doves, the bird lady. And then we hear, "Kevin, you spent I don't know how much money on hotel." and Buzz looks at the bill and says, "Merry Christmas indeed." "Oh, Dad!" And the whole yelling thing happens, and the movie ends. I would suggest watching the first two movies. They're funny, they're hilarious. I think Macaulay Culkin is funny. He's still funny. He's very, very funny. I, again, would watch both movies. They're worth your while. Anyway, that is the end of my 25 Days of Christmas discussions. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Next year will be part 2, the sequel. We'll talk about even more Christmas movies. So like, comment, subscribe, share. I'll see you guys next year. And I will see you guys in 2022. I promise there's going to be a lot more stuff happening then.